Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Spruce Sports Central. Today, we're going to go over my Week 15 NFL predictions. So last week, I had a record of 11-2, and that brings my record on the season to 143-65. Kicking things off this week on Thursday Night Football, we have the Rams at the 49ers. So this is a huge game for the NFC West because the Seahawks they're leading the division, but the Rams they're right behind them at 7-6, and the 49ers are a game behind them at 6-7. But the Rams, they're coming off a big upset win over the Bills, so maybe they can build on that. And they face a 49ers squad who snapped their three-game losing streak last week with a blowout win over the Bears. The Rams' offense is solid, scoring 22.9 points per game, but they just dropped 44 on an elite Bills defense. But they don't face a 49ers defense that has struggled this season, allowing 23.7 points per game, but there's a chance they get Nick Bosa and Dre Greenlaw both back from injury this week. On the flip side, the 49ers offense is scoring 23.7 points per game, and they face a Rams defense that isn't very good, allowing 25.5 points per game. But this is a tough game to predict. I think this will be a higher scoring game as neither team has been great defensively, and I'm going to take the Rams to get the win. I like the way their offense is playing after a great game against the Bills, and I've got the Rams with the win in a shootout, 30-27. Moving to the games on Sunday, beginning with the Chiefs at the Browns. So the Chiefs, they're coming off another extremely lucky win as they doinked in a game-winning field goal against the Chargers, and they don't play a Browns team that's 3-10. The Chiefs' offense is pretty good, scoring 23.7 points per game, and they face a Browns defense that is not good, allowing nearly 26 points per game. And on the flip side, the Browns' offense is scoring 17.8 points per game, but Jameis Winston is averaging 315 passing yards per game in his last 6 games. Now, the Chiefs' defense is good, allowing 19.4 points a game, but they're not anything too great against the pass, allowing 220 passing yards per game. But the Chiefs, every game they play is close. 10 of their 13 games this year have been one-score games. So I'm going to say this is going to be a close game like most of the Chiefs games are. The Chiefs, they've also been great in one-score games, winning an NFL record of 15 straight one-score games. And I'm going to take the Chiefs because they just seem to always find a way to win. But this is another game for the Chiefs. They're the better team, but I don't think they'll look too impressive getting the win. But I do have the Chiefs 24-19. Up next, we have the Titans hosting the Bengals. So the Bengals, they get a win last week over the Cowboys to keep their playoff hopes alive, and they're going to need to win out to have any chance to playoff. The Bengals, they have a pretty good chance to get the win this week, as they face the Titans team that's 3-10, and just lost to the Jaguars last week, who were playing with their backup quarterback. The Bengals' offense is elite, scoring 27.8 points per game, and they're averaging 271 passing yards per game. But they face a Titans defense that allows a lot of points, allowing 26.3 points per game, although Titans defense is the best defense against the pass, allowing just 175 yards per game. On the flip side, the Titans offense isn't good, scoring 17.5 points per game, and they did not score a touchdown last week, mustering just 6 points. Now, the Titans offense isn't good, neither is the Bengals defense, as they're allowing 27.7 points per game, which is fourth worst in the NFL. But I think the Bengals will score a lot against a bad defense, and even though the Titans are playing a bad defense, I don't think they'll be able to keep up, and the Bengals win in a higher scoring game, 34-21. Moving on, we have the Commanders at the Saints. So the Saints, they're 5-8 and have won 3 of their last 4 games, and because of that, they're a couple of games out of first place in the NFC South. The Saints are now going to be starting a new quarterback, as Derek Carr suffered a fractured hand last week and could miss the rest of the year. Now, while we know the Saints are starting a different quarterback because Carr is out, we don't know who they'll be starting. It can be Jake Haener, who's been the Saints' backup all season, or it can be the rookie Spencer Rattler, who started a few games when Carr missed time earlier this season. But the Saints' offense isn't great, scoring 22.3 points per game, and they face a Commanders' defense that's okay, allowing 22.8 points per game. And on the other side, the Commanders' offense is great, scoring 28.9 points a game, which ranks 4th, and they match up against a Saints defense that is allowing the 3rd most yards per game at 380, but they're decent against not allowing teams in the end zone, allowing 22.5 points per game. But I am going to take the Commanders to get the win here. They're the better team on both sides of the ball. They're coming off a bye as well, and I've got the Commanders with the win, 27-16. Moving on, we have the Ravens at the Giants. So the Giants, they're terrible. They're 2-11, and they've lost 8 straight games. Now, the Ravens have lost a couple of games to bad teams this season, as they've lost to the Raiders and Browns, but I doubt the Giants win this week. The Giants, their offense is terrible. They're scoring a league worst 14.9 points per game, and they'll be starting Tommy DeVito at quarterback after Drew Lock suffered a heel injury. But Tommy Cutlets gets the start for the Giants, and he faces a Ravens defense that is okay, allowing 24.5 points per game. On the flip side, the Ravens offense is elite, as they're scoring 29.5 points per game, which is third best in the NFL, and they have the second best rushing attack, as they're rushing for 179 yards per game. They now match up against a Giants defense that is allowing 22.5 points per game, but is terrible against the run, allowing 141 rushing yards per game and 4.9 yards per carry. And both those stats are bottom 5 in the NFL. But the Ravens, I think they will dominate this game. They'll run the ball very effectively, and I've got the Ravens winning easily 31-10. Moving on, we have the Cowboys at the Panthers. So the Cowboys, they're 5-8, and they play a Panthers team that's 3-10. Although the Panthers, they've been very close to winning over the past few weeks. Both teams are terrible defensively, as these are the two worst scoring defenses in the NFL, with the Cowboys allowing 28.2 points per game, and the Panthers allowing 29.8 points per game. And these teams are also terrible at stopping the run, as they're two of the three worst run defenses in the NFL. Now, offensively, neither team is that great, as the Cowboys are scoring 20.6 points per game, and the Panthers are scoring 17.9 points per game. Now, this is a tough game to predict, because I don't really think either team is good. The Panthers, they're actually favored to win this game, and it's the first time they're favored to win a game in over 2 years. And I'm going to take the Panthers to get the win. Bryce Young's been playing pretty well. I think he'll continue to play well against a bad defense. And the Panthers, they get the win here in a higher scoring game, because both teams are terrible defensively, by a score of 26-22. But this game could really go either way. Up next, we have the Jets at the Jaguars. So this is going to be a bad game. Both teams are 3-10. The Jets, they've lost 4 straight, while the Jaguars actually snapped their 5-game losing streak last week with a win over the Titans. But the win for the Jaguars might have been a bad thing, because that took them from the first pick all the way to the 5th pick. But both offenses are bad, as the Jets, they're scoring 19.3 points a game, and the Jaguars, they're scoring 18.3 points a game. And Mac Jones will also be getting the start once again for the Jaguars. But I think this game is going to be decided on the defensive side of the ball. And defensively, the Jets, they're much better. They're allowing 23 points per game, while the Jaguars are 5th worst, allowing 26.5 points per game. And because of that, I have the Jets getting the win. I don't really think this game will be that good, but I do have the Jets getting the win because their defense 16-9. Up next, we have the Dolphins at the Texans. So this is a pretty interesting game. The Dolphins, they've played themselves back into the wildcard race, as they're now 6-7, 2 games out of the final playoff spot. But they get a tough matchup this week as they face the Texans. And the Texans, they can actually clinch a playoff spot in the AFC South this week with a win and a close loss. But the Dolphins, they've been playing pretty well. They're scoring 27.7 points per game in their last 7 games, and they face the Texans defense that is solid, allowing 22.2 points per game. Then on the flip side, the Texans are scoring 23.7 points a game, and the Dolphins are allowing 22.5 points a game. So I can definitely see this game going either way, and I can definitely see the Dolphins getting the win, especially if this game becomes a shootout. But I do think both defenses are solid, which will prevent this game from being a shootout. And I have the Texans getting the win. I think they're the slightly better team, and they're home. And I've got the Texans in a close one, 23-21. Up next, we have the Colts at the Broncos. So this is a big game for the AFC wildcard race, because the Broncos, they're currently sitting in the final wildcard spot at 8-5. And the Colts are the first team out at 6-7. But a win here for the Colts could go a long way. The Broncos, they've been playing pretty well, as they've won 3 straight. And during that 3-game stretch, their offense has been great, putting up 36 points per game. And they now match up against the Colts defense that is solid, along about 23 points a game. Then offensively for the Colts, they're okay, scoring 20.5 points a game, but they faced a tough Broncos defense that is allowing just 18 points a game, which is tied for second best in the NFL. So I have the Broncos getting the win here. Their defense is better, their offense is playing pretty good as well, and they're home, so I've got the Broncos getting the win here by a score of 27-19. Up next, we have the Bills at the Lions. So this is going to be a great game and potentially a Super Bowl preview. The Bills, they're 10-3, although they are coming off a loss to the Rams. And the Lions, they're 12-1, winners of 11 straight games. But this is going to be a great game. The Bills, they're scoring 30.5 points per game, which is second best in the NFL. And they face a Lions defense that is great, allowing just 18 points per game, which is tied for second fewest. Although the Lions, they do have a ton of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. Then on the flip side, the Lions offense is the best offense in the NFL, putting up 32.1 points per game. And they face a good Bills defense that is allowing 20.6 points per game. although the Bills' defense really struggled last week, allowing 44 points against the Rams. But I think this is going to be a shootout, as these are the two best offenses in the NFL. And while both defenses are good, I think this is still going to be a shootout. The Lions, they're banged up defensively. The Bills, they're coming off a bad performance. Both offenses will definitely have great games. But this could really go either way, and this could end up being a Super Bowl preview. Who really knows at this point? But I think this game is going to be a great game, but I've got the Lions getting the win by a score of 35-31. Moving on, we have the Steelers at the Eagles. This is another game that I think is going to be a great game. The Steelers, they're 10-3, and they face the Eagles, who are 11-2 and have won 9 games in a row. The Steelers, they can clinch a playoff spot this week with a win, and the Eagles can walk up the NFC East with a win and a Commanders loss. But this is a really interesting game. The Eagles, their offense is great, scoring 26.3 points per game, and they have the league's best rushing offense, averaging 190 rushing yards per game. But they face a Steelers defense that is great, allowing 18.3 points per game, and they're the 4th best defense against the run, allowing just 91.5 rushing yards per game. Now, the Steelers defense isn't anything too special against the pass, but the Eagles' passing offense has also been less than impressive lately, as they have 3 straight weeks of under 200 passing yards. Then on the other side, the Steelers' offense is good at scoring 24.8 points per game, but they face an elite Eagles defense that is another team tied for second in scoring defense, allowing 18 points per game. But this is another game really tough to predict, and a game that can really go either way. On one hand, I think the Steelers can get the win. I think they have the defense to slow down Saquon Barkley and the good Eagles run game. But on the other hand, I think the Eagles passing game is good enough where they can throw the ball when they need to get the win, although they haven't been great lately. But I am going to take the Steelers to get the win and end the Eagles' 9-game winning streak. I think the Steelers' defense slows down the Eagles' offense, and the Steelers' offense does enough against a tough Eagles' defense, and the Steelers hand the Eagles their first loss since Week 4 and win by a score of 24-21. Moving on, we have the Patriots at the Cardinals. So the Cardinals, they have not been playing well lately, losing 3 straight games, but they have a good opportunity to get back in the win column this week, as they face a Patriots team that's just 3-10. The Cardinals' offense has not been playing well, as in their last 3 games, they're scoring just 15 points a game. But they face a Patriots defense that isn't the greatest, allowing 23.6 points a game. Offensively for the Patriots, they're pretty bad. They're the 2nd worst scoring offense in the NFL, putting up just 17 points a game. And they match up against the Cardinals' defense that's allowing 22.2 points per game. So I think the Cardinals get a much-needed win. They snap their 3-game losing streak, and they beat the Patriots by a score of 23-15. Moving on, we have the Buccaneers at the Chargers. So this is an interesting matchup. The Chargers, they're 8-5, and they're currently sitting at the 6th seed in the AFC, while the Buccaneers, they're 7-6, and sitting atop the NFC South. But in this game, we have a really good matchup, as the Buccaneers' offense is great, but so is the Chargers' defense. The Bucs, they're scoring 27.9 points per game, which is 5th most in the NFL, but the Chargers' defense is allowing the fewest points per game at 15.9. Chargers' offense is solid at scoring 21.3 points per game, although quarterback Justin Herbert is banged up as he's dealing with an ankle injury. But the Chargers' offense faces the Buccaneers' defense that isn't the greatest, allowing roughly 24 points per game. But this is a tough game to predict. I can definitely see the Buccaneers getting the win if their offense can find success against a good Chargers defense. But in the end, I think the Chargers defense contains a good Buccaneers offense, and the Chargers offense does enough, and the Chargers win 21-20. Moving on, we have the Packers at the Seahawks on Sunday Night Football. So we will have a live watch party for this game starting about 8:15 Eastern Time on Sunday, so I hope to see you guys there. But the Packers, they're 9-4, although they are coming off a loss to the Lions, and Seahawks, they're 8-4 and have won 4 games in a row. The Packers' offense is very good at scoring 26.8 points a game, and they have a great run game, rushing for 144 yards per game. But the Seahawks' defense, they're playing pretty well on their 4-game winning streak, allowing just 15.5 points per game. Then offensively for the Seahawks, they're scoring 23.2 points a game and passing for 250 yards per game. But the Packers, they're solid defensively, allowing 21.1 points a game and 222 passing yards per game. But I can see the Seahawks with the upset win. They're playing well and they're home, but I am going to take the Packers to get the win. I think they're the better overall team. Their offense is a little bit better, and I have the Packers beating the Seahawks 24-20. Moving on to Monday Night Football, we have the Bears at the Vikings. So we will also have a live walkthrough for this game starting at about 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday. So again, I hope to see you guys there. But the Bears, they're pretty bad. They're 4-9 and have lost 7 straight. But they now face the Vikings team that is playing pretty well, sitting at 11-2, and winners of 6 straight. The Vikings offense is great, putting up 26.1 points per game, and Sam Darnold is also playing extremely well. And they face the Bears defense that is allowing 21.4 points a game. On the flip side, the Bears offense is not good, scoring just 19.5 points per game, and they face a great Vikings defense that is 6th best in the NFL, allowing 18.5 points per game. Now, when these teams met the first time, it went to overtime and the Vikings ended up winning. I don't think this game is that close. I think the Vikings get the win pretty easily, 31-17. And the Vikings, they'll also clinch a playoff spot with the win. And our final game, also on Monday night, we have the Falcons at the Raiders. So this game isn't going to be that good. The Raiders, they're terrible at 2-11 and have lost 9 games in a row. And the Falcons, they're not playing that well either, as they're 6-7 and have lost 4 straight. The Raiders are not good on either side of the ball. Offensively, we don't know who their starting quarterback is. It could be Aiden O'Connell or Desmond Ridder. But either way, the Raiders are bad offensively, as they're scoring 18.2 points per game. And their defense isn't any better. They're the 3rd worst scoring defense in the NFL, allowing 27.8 points per game. And for the Falcons, their offense is okay, scoring 21.4 points a game, but they have turned the ball over 9 times on their 4-game losing streak. And then defensively for the Falcons, they're also not the greatest, as they're allowing 25.6 points per game. But while the Falcons aren't playing well, they are still a lot better than the Raiders, which is not a high bar, but they are much better than the Raiders. But the Falcons, they should win this game pretty easily, and I've got them by a score of 30-13. Well, those are my Week 15 NFL predictions. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications, don't miss any other upcoming videos. I do my best to post as often as possible. Be sure to check out the community tab of my channel, where you guys can vote on who you think will win some of these big games. But thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, turn notifications. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.